Welcome back. I'm so glad you have joined us for another conversation, another episode all about emotional intelligence. So, I've been having a little bit of fun over on Instagram. If you don't follow me over there, it's linked up in the show notes, but you may want to head on over there. Not right now, finish the episode, then you can head on over there where I've been having a little bit of fun recently with reels. You will be able to catch my questionable acting skills if you go over there and have a look. But one of the things I've done recently, probably in the last month or so, by the time this episode drops, in the last month and a half, I've been using reels. I've been using my questionable acting skills to introduce you to three personality types that really do disrupt your relationships. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to bring some context. I want to bring a little bit of teaching, maybe a little extra insight to some of the goofiness and some of the silliness that's happening over on my Instagram page so that you can really understand how these particular personality types have a negative impact on your relationships. So, over my career in working so intimately with people and having what I would say really has been the immense privilege of specializing in relationship and leadership optimization, what I found is that there are three distinct personality types that are highly disruptive to relationships in particular. And I would say that they are also disruptive to the way that we show up in terms of our leadership capacity. So, I want to talk through those personality types. I want to share those profiles with you. And just like any conversation or any episode that we have, what I would love for you to do is to make this interactive by grabbing a pen, a paper, some notes. And I really want you to use this as an opportunity to be self reflective. I want you to think through some of the profiles that I'm about to share with you. I think our human tendency is, especially when we're looking at personality types and especially when we're looking at problematic behaviors, is our human tendency is to think about those people in our life, could be our partner, our children, our mother, our sister, our friend, our boss, whoever it is. But our human tendency is to think about that other person that is displaying these characteristics rather than taking this as an opportunity to be self-reflective and identifying for yourself, when do you fall into these particular personality profiles, and what is the impact that these behaviors might be having on your relationships and even on your leadership capacity. So, that is the perspective that I want you to take today with this particular teaching and with this particular conversation. So, let's jump right in. The first personality profile I want to introduce you to is one that I would call the reactive personality profile. Again, if you jump over to Instagram after you have watched or listened to this episode, I call the reactive personality profile Reactive Reena. Reactive Reena is what we're calling her over on Instagram. So I want you to ask yourself these questions and write them down. Actually, jot down the responses to these questions to see if you may get stuck in this particular profile, if you may get stuck in the reactive Rena profile. So, do you flip your lid easily? So, do you get angry or upset or frustrated very easily? Whatever that emotional reaction is, does that happen fairly easily for you? And you can simply give yourself a yes or no response with these particular questions. Do you flip your lid easily? The second question you can ask yourself is, do you go from 0 to 10 in seconds? So I mean emotionally, right? We're talking about the reactive Rena personality profile. Do you go from 0 to 10 in seconds? Do you escalate? Do your emotions escalate quickly? And here's the interesting thing about this question in particular. I'm curious if whether you externalize that reaction or whether that reaction is simply internalized. What I'd really like you to ask yourself is, do you have that big reaction happening in a short amount of time? So do you go from 0 to 10 in seconds? The next question I have for you is panic your middle name? Meaning, do you often panic? So it could be something really small that's happened. It could be a problem that comes up during your workday. It could be that, I don't know, your child didn't do their homework and lied to you about it. Whatever it is, right? Something happens and you immediately get this sense of panic. The important thing to remember, I think, with the reactive personality profile is it's not just about how you're reacting externally, but also what's happening internally for you and how quickly or how slowly you're able to manage and regulate those emotions. The final question I have for you is, do you overreact when someone says or does something that goes against what you had planned? So something doesn't go your way. You had this idea or you had this plan in your mind, or maybe you even articulated the plan. You even discussed the plan. What happens when someone says or does something that goes against that plan? What is the reaction? If it's an overreaction, you may be falling into the reactive Reena personality profile. Okay. So those are 4 questions. Add up your yeses. That'll give you a sense of how often you get stuck in this particular profile. Second set of questions that I have for you is to introduce you to another personality type that I would consider an avoidant personality profile. We call her Avoidant Amy. She has also been making an appearance over on my Instagram feed. So, Avoidant Amy, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Do you have a hard time saying no? Do you have a hard time setting boundaries? Do you have a hard time or do you avoid difficult conversations? So these are simply conversations that might make you uncomfortable, that you worry might make the other person uncomfortable. It could be you asking for a change in a relationship, but any difficult conversations, you find yourself avoiding those? And do you find yourself constantly in a state of doing more, more, more in order to avoid looking at some of those harder things in your life? Okay. So that is what I would consider the profile for an avoidant personality type. We like to call her Avoidant Amy. So just ask yourself those questions, add up how many yeses you had to that list, and that will give you a good sense of how often you might fall into this particular trap. The final personality profile I want to introduce you to is one that I would consider an anxious personality profile. We lovingly call this personality profile Overthinking Olivia. Overthinking Olivia. So I'm going to ask you a set of questions again, and I want you to answer yes or no. Overthinking Olivia. She replays conversations just in case she missed something. So she replays conversations in her mind just in case she missed something. She worries about what others think of her. So she's constantly sort of ruminating and turning over in her mind what she thinks others might be thinking of her. She's afraid to make decisions, right? So she actually has a difficult time being decisive. She overthinks her decisions. She ruminates on her decisions. And even if she does make a decision, she'll second guess it almost immediately. And overthinking Olivia tends to feel anxious most of the time. Remember, this is the anxious personality profile. So, overthinking Olivia tends to feel anxious most of the time. So, again, have some fun with yourself, have some fun with this exercise, add up your responses, all the yeses. The more yeses you have, the more likely it is that you may get stuck or caught in this particular personality profile. So I want to start out by saying, first of all, first and foremost, that there's nothing wrong with you if you can relate to any of the behaviors that I just shared with you or that we just discussed. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. These patterns are actually incredibly common, and quite likely you may fall into one or more of these personality profiles throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your life, really. Okay. So I want you to know that this is very, very common. We actually all have patterns that we tend to lean on. I call them almost like defensive strategies that we tend to lean on when things go sideways, when we're triggered by past experiences, when we're under a lot of pressure, when there's a lot of stress in our lives. So this it's very common for us to sort of fall back into these old patterns when we are struggling. I want you to know, though, that this does not mean that you can't grow, that you can't evolve, that you can't change, and that you can't actually transform these disruptive patterns. In fact, you probably know that I have made it my absolute life's mission to train and equip women with the emotional intelligence skills that they need in order to achieve the results they desire, both personally and professionally. And so when I think about that my personal mission, my professional mission, it's these sorts of behaviors, these sorts of disruptive personality types, these sorts of disruptive behaviors that I am truly in the business of shifting and transforming. This is my passion. So if you're done with playing into these roles in your life and you want to put an end to these old patterns that are holding you back, you've probably heard me talk about it in the last episode. We've been talking about this brand new program, brand new training lab that we have just created and we've just opened enrollment for very recently. This is an opportunity for you to work with myself and with my team using our signature methodology all around leveraging emotional intelligence in order to amplify your success and really to shift these disruptive sort of behaviors. So, this program is called the Relationship Lab. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. I want you to go back and listen to my last episode where I talk in a little bit more detail about the Relationship Lab. We're also going to link up in the show notes for you where you can get more information online about it. You can reach out to myself, you can reach out to my team. I simply want to say a few things about this particular training program. It was designed specifically to help professional women master their emotions and to communicate fearlessly so that we can really transform these disruptive patterns and show up powerfully in all of our relationships. So I want you to imagine this. I want to sort of create a picture for you in your mind. I want you to imagine feeling confident in all of your roles, whether that's as a mother, as a leader, as a partner, sister, daughter, aunt, friend, doesn't matter, right? I want you to imagine what it would be like to actually feel really confident in all of those roles because you know exactly how and when to communicate your needs. I want you to imagine what it would feel like to step away from difficult conversations without feeling guilty and wondering, ruminating, obsessing even about what you said or maybe how you said it. I want you to imagine what that would be like. I want you to also imagine what it would be like to communicate so clearly in your relationships that you are no longer wasting precious energy on wondering if you came across as too much. So many of the women that we work with tell us that they waste a lot of time and energy worrying that they are coming across as too much. I also want you to imagine what it would be like to say no to the things that you don't want to do. That one might sound so simple, but if you're listening and as made that statement, being able to say no to the things you don't want to do, something just sort of touched something inside of you. I really want you to know you're not alone. We have so many women that we work with that truly struggle to simply say no to things that they really don't want to do. They never even considered that it was a possibility to be able to say no to the things that they don't want to do. So, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're ready to let go of these old patterns and you're ready to step into a new, more powerful version of yourself, the Relationship Lab actually might be a really great fit for you. I'm going to remind you again, not going to go into detail. You can have a listen to the last episode, but the Relationship Lab is essentially gives you access to our EQ code relationship framework. which is our three-part system that allows you to access and execute the skills you need to transform and improve your relationships. It will give you access to our relationship mastery curriculum, which is made up of, it's very robust, very comprehensive, 20 video lessons and personalized workbooks that go along with every single lesson. We provide you with accountability through monthly relationship skills clinics. These are live calls that are led by myself and my master coaches, where we actually role play with you how to have these difficult conversations, how to show up more powerfully in your life, how to actually regulate your emotions based on your unique scenarios. And you also get ongoing support through a private community of like minded professional women. We gather together. It is a closed group, it is a private community. It's an opportunity for you to work very, very closely with myself and with my team. And the best part of this is it's actually the most flexible program that we offer. While we encourage you to, and many women do work with us inside of our training labs for about a year so that we can really integrate and implement the level of transformation that they are looking for. You have the option with the relationship lab to just dip your feet into the water, dip your toe into the water of emotional intelligence. Try it out for a month. You can literally do a month to month subscription on this membership, and you can cancel at any time. So if this resonates, if this makes sense, don't hesitate. Reach out to me on Instagram. We are going to link up the information page online for the Relationship Lab. You can also head over to our website, theeqcode.com. And if you scroll through that website, you will see a link to the Relationship Lab with some more information. Or if you want to go directly to that page, it is theeqcode.com/relationship-lab. All right, friends, it was so great chatting with you, and I will see you again in the next episode.